This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
I do plan to go to the State of Union.
I don't want to use the word capitulated, but why they haven't capitulated?
Putin has not broken Ukrainians.
We still believe in a miracle that she can come home.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
State of Disunion. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. The lack of unity when it comes to American politics will be underscored by tonight's State of the Union address to Congress by President Donald Trump. What will he have to say? White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
The president will lay out the case for why he and Republicans are better suited to continue tackling the affordability crisis that was created by the Biden administration and Democrats on Capitol Hill.
A few dozen Democrats are boycotting Trump, holding a counter rally on the National Mall nearby. Democratic National Party Chair Ken Martin tells Fox News,
"It's not my job to tell members of Congress what to do and how to act. At the end of the day, they're going to have to make their own decisions, again, whether or not to attend and what they do and say during the speech."
Pennsylvania Democrat John Fetterman's made his decision.
I do plan to go to the State of Union, and I do hope all the other Democrats that choose to come, that we don't do the same kinds of things that happened at the last year.
Fetterman referring to Democrat Al Green shouting and waving his cane at Trump during last year's State of the Union. Secretary of State Marco Rubio briefing the so-called Gang of Eight, top-ranking congressional lawmakers, about options the Trump administration is considering regarding Iran. Iowa Republican Joni Ernst tells Fox,
"We don't want the risk associated with a long-term war. That's why we have to be very, very careful in the types of strikes that we engage in, and hopefully no conventional forces will be needed on the ground." U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff.
I don't want to use the word frustrated. He's curious as to why they haven't, I don't want to use the word capitulated, but why they haven't capitulated.
Multiple reports say Trump is indeed frustrated with the limits of the military options he's being presented with. Next to Mexico, Americans there no longer being urged to shelter in place, a warning issued after violence erupted following a top cartel boss being killed by Mexican authorities on Sunday. However, college students planning spring break trips to Mexico are being told to think long and hard about canceling. These students tell Fox that sounds like good advice.
If I had plans to go to Mexico, I'd probably pivot, switch somewhere else, maybe go somewhere else in Latin America, or just stay in California, still a bit more local.
Stay away from that area. The last thing you want to do is go down there and add fuel to the fire.
For those stranded in Mexico since the weekend, the State Department says flight schedules have returned to normal in Guadalajara and extra flights are being planned in Puerto Vallarta. A most unhappy anniversary today for Ukraine.
On this day, 4 years ago, Russia invaded Ukraine and war had returned to Europe.
Fox's Greg Palka. Ukrainian President Zelensky in a translated statement to his nation.
Putin has not achieved his goals. He has not broken Ukrainians. He has not won this war. We have preserved Ukraine, and we will do everything to secure peace and justice.
Balcott reports the current U.S. deadline for Russia to reach a deal to end its invasion of Ukraine is now the 4th of July. Now, the great storm is over, but the cleanup sure isn't. The Northeast still digging out after a winter storm dumped massive amounts of snow across the region, prompting numerous states of emergency, resulting in blizzard conditions in many cases. New Bedford, Massachusetts, for example, got more than 3 feet. The mayor there says they just couldn't keep up.
That represents the largest snowfall on record in the city's history. Blew snow back into places that had been plowed. Streets were filled back up again. So from the plow driver's perspective, and from the city's perspective, for that matter, it was as though we're plowing the same city over, say, 3 times.
Still over 200,000 without power across Massachusetts. Another tearful plea from Savannah Guthrie.
We still believe in a miracle. We still believe that she can come home.
The Today Show co-anchor and daughter of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie with a new plea on social media as the abduction case enters week 5, knowing time may have run out to expect her mom back alive.
She may be lost. She may already be gone. She may have already gone home to the Lord that she loves and is dancing in heaven with her mom and her dad and with her beloved brother Pierce and with our daddy.
Guthrie's family now offering a $1 million reward as authorities continue to search for her in southern Arizona. A win for religious freedom in the foster care system. This happened in Vermont, where officials have finalized a new policy clarifying that families need not abandon their religious beliefs or promote gender ideology to qualify as foster parents. It happened after Pastor Brian Gant and his wife Rebecca had their licenses revoked because of their religious beliefs on gender ideology. Alliance Defending Freedom says, quote, no parent should be forced to lie to a vulnerable child about who they are. Actor Robert Carradine has died.
We're going to get the herd back from Mr. Anderson and take it on to Belfouche.
You're going to get yourselves killed.
We're going to finish the job.
Carradine's 1972 movie debut as Slim Honeycutt in the John Wayne Western, The Cowboys. A member of the famous family of actors, they say Carradine took his own life after a years-long battle with bipolar disorder. Films like The Long Riders, Revenge of the Nerds, and the TV series Lizzie McGuire on his resume. Robert Carradine was 71. And some health news. Popular weight loss drugs by Novo Nordisk are getting a change in price. If patients can be patient, the cost of Ozempic, Wegovy, and Rybelsus will be cut by up to 50% for some customers. However, you'll have to wait to use them to lose weight. Those lower prices don't go into effect until January 1st, 2027. Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, a recap of our top regional stories and highlights from today's Hometown Heroes.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. For tonight, turning out mostly cloudy. There'll be some snow in the area overnight into tomorrow, and anywhere from a coating to a couple 3 inches in spots. The breezes will be gusty. Temperatures will rise tonight from the teens to the 20s into the 30s tomorrow. Thursday, variable clouds with a few flurries. There could be some snow Thursday in Pennsylvania south of I-80. High temperatures Thursday, the 30s.
Thanks, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Governor Josh Shapiro wrapping up a news conference this afternoon about the severity of the bird flu outbreak in the Commonwealth.
As of this morning, we have 26 flocks that have been impacted, representing about 7.6 million birds. Just to put that into some perspective for you, that represents more than half of all cases in the entire United States of America.
Most of the PA cases are in Lancaster County.
Pennsylvania is really, sadly, at the epicenter of this.
Shapiro says he's enlisted more than 100 state workers and partnered with the USDA to quarantine birds that are infected, but that it's still having a direct impact on the poultry supply in the Keystone State. An outbreak of a bacterial infection in the southern tier of New York. Broome County Health Department Medical Director Lazarus Gehring tells WIVT the county's seen about 24 cases of what's known as shigellosis over the past 6 months. That's 4 times higher than what they see normally, with use of unsanitary water sources the likely main cause.
Unfortunately, in some of our marginalized populations, getting water from rivers or streams or from water mains that have been broken that are not very clean sources of water at all. And in these cases, surely contaminated.
The unpleasant symptoms include stomach pain and extreme diarrhea. Gehring says they're seeing an overlap with patients who also have HIV and Hep C. A proposed law could make 9/11 a New York State official holiday. We get that story from Family Life, Sarah Harnish.
This year will mark the 25th anniversary of the terror attacks on the Twin Towers. And in advance of the memorial, Brooklyn Democrat William Colton has proposed a bill to make 9/11 a public holiday. If enacted, it would be considered a business holiday, meaning government offices would be closed. Colton said, quote, "We want to make sure no matter how much time goes by, we never forget." Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Thank you, Sarah. A Pennsylvania passenger rail project could wind up adding a transportation option to New York's southern tier as well. PennDOT's working with Amtrak to restore passenger service between Scranton and New York City. PA Transportation Secretary Michael Carroll telling WBNG,
"Expanding the service will reduce the commute time, help connect hundreds of thousands of residents, and boost local economies in 2 states."
In a Facebook post, Binghamton's Mayor Jared Cram says the restoration of the Scranton to New York City link opens the way to expanding that effort further north, telling followers to, quote, "stay tuned for next steps in Binghamton." All right, our next step is highlights from today's Hometown Heroes. We spoke with Scott Stutzman, principal of Jamestown, New York's Chautauqua Christian Academy, providing a faith-based education alternative for 50 years. And Stutzman himself has been an educator for over 20 years.
I'm going on, I believe, my 22nd or 23rd year in education, and I've been in both public and now in private. And there's a good place for both of them. But I think what we offer here at CCA is we could do things just a little differently. And I'll never hide behind the fact that we implement the character of Christ. And those are the qualities that I think businesses want for their future, the soft skills that we see fading in this world. We want to work on those soft skills. And our critical thinking skills, those are the type of skills that we really focus on, and they're all built around the character of Christ. So I think that in conjunction with this being one really awesome, great family, and people want to be part of a great family. And so when anybody enrolls at this school, they join a great family over here that includes our staff, our faculty, and then obviously our students and their parents.
Let's delve a little bit more into what you called soft skills. What are some of those, and why are they so important?
You know, it's interesting because as we look at the generation and we look at what's facing our kids, for instance, we know that our kids have cell phones out constantly, and most of our kids' heads are in those cell phones all the time. They're losing the soft skills of simple things like a warm greeting, a handshake. Those things are getting lost. When we have tours in our school, we never tell the students that we have somebody coming in the building so that it's like a stage that was preset. But 9 out of 10 times, our kids will greet those that are touring with a handshake, a welcome, kind conversation. We really want to make sure that our kids have those skills because they're getting lost. And those are the skills that are embedded in pretty much every classroom, even general communication skills. We had a communication skills class in the past that was mandated, and we're going to bring that class back again next year because we want our kids to be able to know how to communicate in all environments.
Yeah, so important. Talk a little bit about how you go about preparing kids. You know, once they're out of that school, when they've gone through that and they're out in the world, it's a challenge to hold on to what they've been taught.
We just saw the other day what happened with our U.S. hockey team. And we know the gentleman that got the final goal. He had his teeth knocked out just prior to that, and he got right back in. And why do I use that as an example? Because I do a weekly email, and in that email, I talk about grit. And grit is you don't lay down when you get the hard slap because the world is going to give you that. You have to learn how to navigate this world with grit. And I think the one thing we also focus on at CCA is that our kids have grit and they learn how to navigate the challenges. And so when they leave this school, when all of a sudden a situation shows up that maybe they didn't expect, they don't lay down. They look for solutions. They use their critical thinking skills and they use the soft skills to be able to address those things that maybe they're not prepared, but we prepare them as best as possible at this school for what they'll face once they walk out the doors.
Yeah, I mean, the Bible, of course, talks about, meekness, but people often mistake meekness for just rolling over and being wishy-washy, and that's certainly not what it's really about.
And I agree with you there. And the world needs more grit. And grit isn't that all of a sudden we jump on social media and we're, saying things nasty back and forth through a social media battle. That's not grit. Grit is what do you do when you hit a situation, you don't know how to address it. And sometimes it's going to be a really tough situation. I like to call those trials or challenges that kids will face. And we all face them. No matter who you are, you're going to face those. And we want to teach the kids the process for doing that. And we never leave out the character of Christ in prayer because we're a Christian school. And that is a very critical element, is knowing that you can go to your maker and pray and talk with them about different situations. There's an old quote that I learned many years ago in public education, and the quote is culture trumps strategy. And quite honestly, there's great strategies in many, many schools across this state and across this nation, but you have to create a culture. And CCA has created a culture that begins with a family feel, and that culture is what allows our kids to thrive and prepares them for when they leave this school. And that's something I'm really proud of. If the culture trumps the strategy, but in essence, our kids now are so prepared for the world because we've established that culture, which allows them to be successful in the classroom because they love being here.
Scott Stutzman, principal of Chautauqua Christian Academy in Jamestown, New York, today's Hometown Hero. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
A budget is a wise and helpful tool, but even good tools can become dangerous if we're not careful. Hi, I'm Rob Bob West with another Faith and Finance Minute. One danger of budgeting is idolizing money. Our focus can quietly shift from trusting God to trusting the plan. Another risk is pride. Hitting financial goals can tempt us to boast in our discipline rather than thank God for His provision. And sometimes rigid budgets can make us hesitant to obey God's promptings, especially when generosity doesn't fit neatly into the numbers. Scripture reminds us, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. A budget should serve the heart, not rule it. We avoid these dangers by renewing our minds in God's Word, practicing gratitude, and holding our plans loosely. Get biblical answers to your financial questions in the Faith Fi community. Download Faith Fi, Faith and Finance in your app store or visit faithfi.com.
Thank you, Rob. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, an Alabama cat with a feature you've probably never heard of before, no matter how many ears you have. We'll explain after Weather with Kevin.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. A Clipper system, a fast-moving, windy disturbance out of western Canada, will zip on by to our north later tonight and tomorrow, bringing some wind and snow to the area. A nuisance system, though, and in its wake, the Arctic air in play now will be temporarily displaced. Temperatures will be a little higher tomorrow. Colder air returns at the end of the week, and there are a couple of more snow systems are tracking down the line. For tonight, turning out mostly cloudy. There'll be some snow in the area overnight into tomorrow, and anywhere from a coating to a couple 3 inches in spots. The breezes will be gusty. Temperatures will rise tonight from the teens to the 20s into the 30s tomorrow. Thursday, variable clouds with a few flurries. There could be some snow Thursday in Pennsylvania south of I-80. High temperatures Thursday in the 30s.
Thank you, Kevin. Finally at 5, people who meet a 7-month-old kitten named Dobby immediately notice something's different here.
He is a special cat.
Indeed, if folks with glasses sometimes get called Four Eyes, Dobby the cat might be called Four Ears. But it's no insult, because that's how many he was born with, though only 2 are functional. Stephanie Brown's fostering the irresistible kitty and tells KTHV he's special in other ways, too.
He is unique with his extra ears. I hope he gets a home with a kid. He loves children, and again, that's something that's a bit more unusual for cats. He really has responded so positively. He's more comfortable with my daughter than adults.
She says Dobby also teaches all of us a good lesson on embracing differences.
I think the differences are completely beautiful. Just like people, every creature, every animal is going to have their own unique personality, presentation, conditions, appearance.
So true, and he'll no doubt make some family smile from ear to ear to ear to ear. And that's the world we live in for Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.